Hello, my name is Raluca and you are listening to a new episode of Worldwide Vielfalt. In this one, I talked to Doris Iorga, a musician from the George Enescu Philharmonic in Bucharest. We talked about her work and the influence that music and art in general has on human beings. It was a pleasant conversation, so I hope you will enjoy it too. Here comes Doris.
My name is Doris Iorga. I am a musician in Bucharest. I am Principal Oboe at the George Enescu Philharmonic in Bucharest. And about myself, I can say that I'm really passionate about art in general and how it can affect a person and, in general, our emotions on a daily life basis. So art and how we behave and why we do that. That's a subject that I started to know a few months ago, thanks to some podcasts on the internet, like Mind Architect. I told you about the other time we met, and that's pretty much it. Maybe there's more, but I don't know to say it right now.
How is it to play in an orchestra?
It can be absolutely amazing because you meet so many people and you have to play together with them in the same time. And of course, the musical part, and when you have to, I don't know, connect really well, but also on a personal level to be able to interact. And if you have something to say, like, let's make it better, or how can we do this? My opinion is white, and their opinion or my colleague's opinion is black, and we try to make it gray, and that needs really good team player abilities to be able to let go of your ego and try to make it for the team, not for yourself. So that the final result, it will be, no matter if it was just your idea or other people. But to finish that, it is an amazing journey to play in an orchestra. It's very fulfilling.
So it's a lot about communication, respect also.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's why I was saying that I started to understand, and I want to understand how we behave and why we behave in certain moments like we do. So in an orchestra is not different really much as a normal job, because you have to interact with other people and your colleagues, and even though you have different opinions, you have to be able to respect them even though they don't agree with you. So you maintain a good relationship with your colleagues.
And it's beautiful because through the music you create an atmosphere
that
is beautiful for everyone that listens to it.
Yeah, and besides the atmosphere, I don't know, I think it's more than the atmosphere. For example, last week, an amazing conductor of our orchestra, Leo Hussein, played with Sir Simon Rattle and Daniel Barenboim. There are a few names in the musical field that they're really well known and really great conductors. So he came last week, and the most interesting thing was that it happened to play a Carmina Burana, which is a piece that made everyone buy the tickets. It was sold out, but he slipped into the program piece by Paul Hindemith that is not so often played, and it's a little bit harder to understand for the wider public. So that's what he wanted to deliver to the public, something that is a little bit more difficult. And I really enjoyed that because it's an amazing piece. It's called Symphony Mattes der Maler, Mattes the painter, and the big story behind of it. I don't want to get into that because I won't stop talking. And the funny thing and the funny part is that I met with him randomly on the street on a terrace. We would drink some lemonade, some beer, or something cold because it was really hot outside. And I told him about the context. And if you don't have a context, especially in art, but in absolutely everything, if you don't understand what other people what the other person is living right now, why they behave in the same way. That's for the psychological part of someone. But for the art, it's like you see, I don't know, you go in Rome, one of the most beautiful places, cities in the whole wide world. And there's a lot of history, thousands of years of history, but you don't know anything. Just look at those paintings, sculptures, and you say, wow, they're so pretty. But if you don't know what happened there, why wanted Michelangelo to, I don't know, draw or do that vein in that way, more pumped or more slightly, I don't know. If you don't have context, understand why. For example, when I went to Rome, when I heard someone told me that this is where Brutus wanted to plan the attack and to kill Caesar, and I was like, oh my god, that's so amazing! I did not know, and I remember that building right now. But if that person would have not told me that that happened there, that building would have been just another very beautiful building, but just another. So that's the same with the context. If you don't understand what happened there, what's the reason behind of it, you cannot understanding, and that understand it. And that's with paintings, that with music, dance, and everything that is, especially art, which is a little bit more abstract, and it's a language, because that's what art does. It's a language. It speaks to you, and that, I think that's why some pieces of art, like art includes music, painting, and even writing. Some of them go in the history forgotten, and some of them remain after hundreds of years really in the center of attention, is because it's not only the technique that they use to have a really amazing genius brushstroke or something. It's about that they sent a message. They made you, as a listener or as a viewer, made you feel something, made you put yourself some questions about life or humanity or something more deeper than that. Or maybe made you put a question to yourself that you don't even know. You're like, why I'm so mesmerized by that. And if you stay in silence with yourself, you will understand. And that is art. That speaks to you in not in words, especially, even though there's opera, but you know what I mean. And that's so amazing. That's so amazing. And yeah, I'm really rediscovering it. Everything. I mean, I right now I'm 25 years old, and I started playing music at 6 or 7 years old, so a pretty long time. But when you're so little, and I don't know, my parents signed me up in the music school, you go with the wave, as a little musician. You go with a wave, that's what you do in school. But I've reached right now a point where I put myself the question, why am I doing it? Why? What can I do to help others? And is it what I do helping others, or in even changing something in a positive and not in a negative one?
We always change only by speaking. We always change something in the world by speaking.
Yeah, and that's so amazing, because we don't understand the impact that we have.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And also about the context, I think that as soon as we get to know things, we also appreciate the meaning of it. So
Exactly.
like before, there was no meaning, but as soon as you get to know it, it's changed. You have another perspective, and that's where you start the next time, because it's going on and on and on.
And things start to connect, and you connect a few dots that you had, I don't know, a month ago with something that you learned from another context, and you start to intertwine them and interconnect them. And that makes you have some, at least for me, helps me understand better things about the world.
Yeah, and I would say that you also learn there's not only one part, there's always also the opposite of it. And you get to understand how life and the world in general works.
Yeah, and having different perspectives on one thing, I think that helps you get through the truth faster and understand it better.
And also don't always react to things, because you don't need to fight everything in the world.
Fight in what kind of way you mean?
I think that some people fight things which they don't know in their own life. Like everything that's not normal to them is already a problem.
Oh yeah. That's normal, I think, because I told you about that podcast. It's a Romanian podcast. Maybe they will translate it sometime because it's absolutely golden, about understanding why we react and how we function on a neurological, psychological way. So, few things to say about that is that it's normal to behave like that. When you see something different, it means that our brains translate it as something wrong in order to survive, of course. So our sense of survival, it's really, really heightened because we are made to connect with something that is really known for us, that is not different. So that's why when people see something that is different, it's wrong, because it's really survival skills 101.
Yeah, but then you can learn to,
Yeah, exactly. So when you find that information and you realize, okay, so why don't I like it? Because it's different. But no, that is also what your podcast is about cultural diversity and understanding that if it's different, it might not be wrong or bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. What would you say, what makes your work so important to the world?
I don't know if my work particular, maybe put it that way. When we were in the pandemic and we had to stay home, I wonder what would have happened if we could not have access to art like music, books, movies. And besides of the entertainment part and the relaxation everyone needs, every time I come back from a difficult day, I get home, I either see, I don't know, I really enjoy watching Friends right now. It's really funny and I don't need so much energy to watch it. So that's what I do when I'm really exhausted. But in the other times, I like challenging myself with a book and always with a pencil and writing something that I like, making notes on that, and that makes me feel better. So to get my point, what art does and what my work and music in general does to people is to elevate the spirit because you feel it's a language. And I saw, I don't know if you know, the conductor and composer Leonard Bernstein. He had a lecture at Harvard 90s, I think, or 80s. There are 6 episodes. They last 2 hours each. A lot of information to take in, even though for a musician, but he questioned himself at some point. He said, I wonder how music and this kind of expression appeared. And he said, I imagine that I'm a baby in the prehistorical times and I'm hungry. I get angry because I'm hungry and I get ever angrier. So the instinct is to attract your mother's attention as a baby to feed you. And you're like, and you do like, ma. And that is the beginning of things and the words actually. That begins the language and how language appeared. And another interesting idea, maybe it applies to culture and how actually we are so diverse and in the same time so alike that in, I don't know, maybe more than 16 languages, the word mother includes the syllable ma or mo or mu, mother, mother, mama, oma, and that kind of mama. And then Leonard Bernstein, said, okay, so that's how language appeared. And he has more hypotheses on language, but then he said, so how music appeared? And the child, he wants something from his mother when he grows. Of course, he's not a baby anymore, and says, Ma, like, Ma, can you give me something? Or Ma. So that going up or down of the voice, it's already a singing. So this whole large explanation, it's a parallel to understand how actually music is just language and how every note put together with another make a combination that have a special meaning. And maybe we don't feel it consciously, but in a more deeper level, our being and emotion feels it and I don't know, resonate. And that's why music is such an abstract language, but in the same time, you feel it. You maybe there's moments you hear a song or a piece and you're like, I don't know why I like it, or it doesn't have words. That is in classical music, of course, because that's what I do, and I hear that more. But you hear it, you like it, and you don't know why I like it. You just feel that, oh, it suits your thing. Or when you have a broken heart, you listen to music and you feel that that music makes you tremble or makes you, oh, this music knows me or feels me or I feel them. So it's just about feeling, and the fact that we are so emotional beings. Everything is emotional, and how we react is just our need for love and empathy.
Very interesting. Yeah. I was thinking, how can it be that different types of music don't get to everyone? Like you said that we understand music, we react to it, we combine our emotions with music, but also there's, for example, metal or something really different, and I don't know, it's like another language then, would you say it like that?
Yeah, it's a kind of maybe a different, instead of talking like that, talking like that and really dark, I don't like really, really sticky. And it can be that kind of difference in language, but on a musical level. That's what I see right now if you ask me that question. And yeah, but I just heard the other day there's a theory that rock music did not appear in the, I don't know, 50s, but actually at the Aztec a long time ago, when they were singing about their happiness and about their rituals, and they started banging sticks on rocks. And that's how scientists realized that rock music actually appeared. Really interesting. I don't know. I don't know more info about that. Maybe some other time I will tell you more.
But it's interesting, yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
I'm trying to imagine how you, as a little girl, got fascinated by that kind of music, like classical music.
I guess it's not usual. As a kindergarten, I started singing and I liked to sing and started playing piano until the age of 11, when I realized that I didn't feel like I could express myself so good. There was something that didn't click. But when I started playing oboe, it clicked. But until the age of 12 or 13, I played like more childish pieces, songs that are more for kids. And slowly the repertoire that I started playing was more and more mature and more complicated. So I started, I don't know, I discovered it, that it's such a complex and yet simple language, the classical one. So I want to understand how it's like to don't be used to classical music so I can help people. That's some of the things that I want to do in the future, to help people understand and vibrate together with the classical music, because it's still so abstract. For example, in Romania, people, even 100 years ago and even today in the village, and people who are really rooted in the tradition, in Romanian tradition, they are playing folk music, which is so simple and yet so beautiful, but it is not related at all to the classical music that we know. So being able to understand classical music needs to be able to not worry about the next day. And unfortunately, there are so many people who worry if they're able to provide I don't know, an education for their children, or be able to eat at a restaurant one time a week. It's sad because it's not able to speak for so many people, even though if there would be some kind of explanation at the beginning of a concert and someone would say, if you will hear that passage, na 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 na, the composer wanted to say that. People, of course, will understand and vibrate more easily with them. But in the same time, I don't know. It's a really elaborate and complicated process, and that mainly is the reason why people don't understand it every time. And sometimes, sometimes even I don't understand it at the beginning, but then I start looking into it and reading about that composer's life and what happened, why he decided to, I don't know, write a symphony in A major and not C major, and why some composer didn't want it to write in a certain tonality and go A-tone, which is no tonality at all, because we are all changing. So it's a larger process and bigger than us.
I remember that when I was at your concert, there was also a pianist. And when you told me that you also played piano, I was thinking of how did you perceive this moment? Because it's also not that usual that pianos play in orchestras, or because I never saw it. Maybe it is.
So there's two possibilities: a piano that plays with the orchestra as a soloist, and he has a solo part, and the orchestra just accompanies, just supports the soloist. So that is just like in opera, he is the opera singer, the piano. And there's the other possibility that that the pianist can play alongside, together in the orchestra as a part of the orchestra. It's just another element from the whole mechanism is just a small, tiny wheel. But no, actually, it's not common to be in an orchestra or piano. But as a soloist, it's quite common.
Okay, and it was a soloist in that moment?
He was a soloist. Yes, he was in front of the orchestra, so he was a soloist. Usually, when he is not a soloist, he stays more on the side.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw that he was very central,
Yeah.
and he always
Yeah,
went with the conductor and came back with him. Yeah.
They both have really important parts in the piece.
As I was there watching the orchestra, I also thought of how does it work that the conductor also uses like another language with you as players of an instrument.
He uses the language of movement. It's a little bit related to choreography and dancing, because if he does a gesture that is really fluid, then the music will be very fluid. If he does really short and a very precise kind of movement, then you play really short and precise. So you translate it to the audio part, to the musical hearing. So he has a really important role and a difficult one, because it is not easy to put together so many people and help them and inspire them, because I think that's what a conductor should do, to inspire the music that he wants to the orchestra and further to the audience.
So is it different when another conductor is there, if it's not the same?
Yes. No, it's not the same. It's never the same with a different conductor, because we're all so unique. Every one of them has a different perspective of the piece that he is conducting and the orchestra is playing, and a different technique, because he moves different. Maybe one of them is I don't know, has a back problem and can't move so easily with his hands, and the other is really flexible and helps us understand more better his gesture. It's a lot of technique and insight in that kind of way about conducting.
So would you say that you play different without a conductor? Because you have to train also.
Yes, it's there are really just a few orchestras. The most known of them is Le Dissonance in Paris. and it's a really famous orchestra that plays without conductor. Those people, those musicians, are rehearsing a lot to play together without a conductor. So they have to communicate 1,000 times or 100 times more than a normal musician in order to be together and never, because there's always the risk, even though you have a conductor, there's always the risk that you are not together with the other musician. You might fall a little bit behind or further. So being able to play without a conductor perfectly together, it requires a lot of skill and communication on a deeper level. One amazing thing about music is that music is a language that everyone understands, because I've been to so many tours in Europe, across Italy and Croatia, Germany, Austria, France, and everywhere I have met people from all around the world. And maybe we didn't know how to speak the same language in terms of English, Romanian, German, French, but when we started playing and we had to play something together, that was so magical that we understood without words. We connected, we made the same thing without having to explain it, just feel it. And that is the one extraordinary thing about music.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also, I cannot imagine, because I don't know if I ever had this feeling, because I think it's really beautiful. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Being able to connect with someone without words, it's quite interesting. You gave me an idea right now that I had a few weeks ago, that everyone should play an instrument at some point of their life, preferably when they are smaller, younger, because it helps your brain develop very multilateral, and even in the left area and also in the right area, because it challenges your creativity and also your, I don't know, movement, because you really have to be able to hold and play and synchronize physically and mentally, because it's a more mental challenge than physical, even though it's also physical. And I think it helps people understand more about life and more about themselves as a person.
I have just one or two last questions. What would you like to leave in the world?
As I told you earlier, I would like to have a positive impact on the people that I encounter with. And as a musician, seeing people feel emotions on a deeper level, and even on a visible level. For example, I had a concert with there's a cello concerto by Gulda. Listen to it later. It's really a very interesting concert with jazz influences and a lot of influences in it. Is not just classical. And while playing that concert like a month ago in a cello festival in Bucharest, in the first row, there was a little girl with her mother. I was looking at her, and she was so visibly happy and making faces like, and then, wow, that's so cute. And seeing her show her emotions like that, so visible and without a barrier, that made me feel okay. That's why I do it, because I can make people feel things. For a little girl, it was happiness and curiosity that she felt. But for other people, since I'm playing go-go, many people came to me and said, "You made me cry," because that was so intense, so beautiful. That's what the mother came to me after a concert when I played Shostakovich 11th Symphony, which is called 1905, about the massacre that happened in Russia. You can imagine the palace in Russia, and it just was fresh snow, white snow, and they were protesting peacefully, and they shot them all, and that they called it the Red Sunday, if I can remember well. So Shostakovich was able to put that in music, and when I heard that, it moved me, and I tried my best to give that feeling to the audience. So when someone came to me, you made me cry. I don't want people to cry, but I want to help them feel things, to help them feel emotions. And sometimes it's good to cry because you remove or let out some of your energy that needs to of your inner self. What I learned, because as a teenager I started to go on tours with orchestras in Europe, and meeting there so many people from so many countries, I think helped me understand that we are not that different, even though we speak different languages or have different traditions. Because after all, we all want to be loved and understood and heard, and we just need empathy, even no matter what. So, and that's how you actually, I think, connect, understanding that on a basic level we are all the same. We just want to be well, and, like I said, be heard, because sometimes we are not.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Heard and seen. Yeah.
Heard and seen, yeah, and understood.
You are right. That's really what everyone wants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, I would ask you to choose a word that could fit into the Worldwide Wörterbuch, which is a dictionary about cultural diversity.
I think uniqueness could be a synonym to diversity, because in the fact of being unique, it's actually included in the diverse situation. And also, as I said before, even though we are unique, we don't need so much to be understood and connect with each other. So maybe uniqueness.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you. It's a good word. We don't have it until now, so I will take it.
Yay. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Okay, Doris. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. For me as well. And if I answered just one question that made someone ring a bell or understand something a little bit better. And I hope to see you soon, because it was a pleasure for me as well. And good luck with everything that you do, because I think it's an amazing idea what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Me too. I'm happy you heard me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to reach out to Doris, you will find further information in the show notes. Bye for now.